just in this school year, starting in August, with what Jake has led us with, 37,500 pounds of garbage have come out of Tennessee waterways based on these programs that he's doing. And with the attractors Jake's leading and building, since 2015, over 78,000 different structures have been put in Tennessee water to help replace where all the stumps are gone and there's nothing holding the algae and the plankton and the little fish that draw the big fish. And they'll put the structure out and go back 30 minutes to an hour later and there's already fish on it. And they'll go back 2 weeks later and they're catching tournament-sized fish on it.
The award-winning Tennessee WildCast is on the air with the latest on hunting, fishing, boating, wildlife watching, and all things outdoors. Make welcome your host, drummer and outdoor expert novice, Jason Harmon.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to this edition of Tennessee WildCast. Thanks for tuning in, for watching, for listening. We got a great show lined up for you today. We're back in studio, Don.
Yes, back home.
It's been a few days.
It has. It
few
sure
shows.
has. Yeah, we've been on the road a while.
Yeah, so we've been in East Tennessee. We've been at CRAC for the last couple of episodes, Cumberland Aquatic Center. And it's good to be back in the studio here and pull a show together.
It sure is. And speaking of radio stations, we usually do a shout out to a station.
Yep.
And this week, WMC 790, ESPN 790, we follow Larry Ray there on Saturday mornings, and the new time is going to be 10:30, so you can sleep in the Memphis area and still catch the show.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I think that'll be a good time slot.
I think so, too. You can leave the tree stand and come back, or come back, on the way to a midday fishing trip or something.
There you go.
Tune us in.
Always, Larry's got a good show, so tune it in and then follow up with us.
That's right. Got the best of both worlds there.
That's great. So check out our show there and tune us in at that new time. And always remember, you can find us on social media.
Yes.
We're out there. You can tune us in on Apple Podcast, iHeart's Podcast, Spotify. We're on most of the podcasting platforms. You can find us
everywhere.
Yeah, we're everywhere. So we do appreciate our radio partners and our few TV partners we have. So
yes.
That's great. Today it's all about fishing. We're going to be talking about everything from high school to youth to habitat improvements and work going on the water, and a lot of this is headed up because of what Jake Davis does for us.
That's right. He had a special recognition recently at the commission meeting.
He did.
And very impressive. Very impressive.
So we thought, let's get him in the studio.
Yeah,
so Jake, thanks for being with us.
Hey, it's a pleasure to drive up and coming to finally get to be in the studio or see what's going on. I watch you guys on Facebook and
awesome.
YouTube and all that stuff all the time, and it's just a terrific show to be on.
I didn't know we had a big fan in the house.
All
That's
right.
great.
Yeah.
You've been sending the link, David?
He knows the link. Jake knows as much about TWRA as anybody does.
Well, we also have David in the house today, David Lowrie. He's our R3 Outreach Program Coordinator for the agency and also has a lot to do with the Tennessee High School Bass Nation fishing and youth fishing. And
well, I get to take credit. I am the state director for that, but I get to take credit that I'm the one that brought Jake Davis into all this. They drafted me to run the high school program, and I said, I'm only doing it if I can bring in a committee. And I said, the first guy I'm bringing in on the committee is the guy that's going to look at me and say, hey, you big idiot, don't do that.
yeah.
And the guy I know that'll
It
work
happens
very
a
hard.
lot, believe it or not. No.
So,
well, just the short time y'all been bickering back and forth here, I know it's got to be fun working with you guys.
You got to be around for some of the conversations that when Facebook Live's not running, and Dave and I, we got to go behind a trailer for a minute.
or just the phone calls late in the evening when we're bothered by something. No, Jake's been a godsend to the program, to me personally. It goes all the way back to when I first started tournament fishing with my kid, which is why I started. Jake taught me a lot of things in the very beginning, and he did a whole lot of teaching to my son, Hank, which is why I ever got into any of this.
Yeah.
I would put Hank in the boat with Jake where he could actually learn things about tournament fishing instead of trying to figure out what Daddy's technique is with that old plastic worm he used in the pond. pond. So, it started like that, and it's grown into this great thing where we've got so much going on that benefits our waters, our kids, benefits the TWRA, and Jake deserves tons of credit for all the things he's done.
Yeah. The recent recognition and at the commission meeting, kind of said it all. That was an awesome presentation. I was happy to be there to witness that. But you're the state conservation director for Tennessee Bass Nation High School and Youth, but you also organized the central division for that tournament. And
it depends upon what hat I have to wear for the day. There's a lot of titles there, and it can get really interesting at different times to keep everything straight.
And then you're a fishing guide on top of that too.
And I'm a fishing guide. Been a fishing guide since 2006.
Okay.
I was running until 2014. I was running 200 plus days a year.
Wow.
Had a couple of years of 300 days a year. Guiding on Gunnersville and Nickajack and Timms Ford and Woods Reservoir.
What's your favorite body there? Which water do you like to guide on?
After being on the water that long, and it sort of leads into why I got into the conservation director with bass, watching the way our waterways were, taken care of and what was happening to them. Everybody wanted to go to Gunnersville, and I loved Gunnersville, and I still love Gunnersville to go down there. But if you had to ask me today, what's my favorite body of water? And the guys down in Middle Tennessee are going to kill me for this. I like Woods Reservoir. We can ask our buddy upstairs, Jason Henniger, all about Woods one day. I had him out there, and we had 3 fish in the 10-pound class.
Wow.
And it's just a hidden little secret. It's
got
not
good
like
bluegill,
browns.
It's got good bluegill.
It's got good bluegill, good crappie. Don't eat the catfish out of there. But it's not like a Browns Creek where they produce 30-some pound bags. It can. Mm-hmm. 3 years ago we seen a 31 and change pound bag come out of there.
Wow.
On a benefit tournament for one of our teams. I mean, they threw a little, hey, let's get together Saturday and raise some money for the fishing team in Franklin County, and it took 31 pounds to win. And everybody was like, oh, where'd this come from? And I'm like, there's a 40-pound sack out here somewhere. I know it.
Yeah.
And that lake helped get me addicted way back when. I grew up crappie fishing that lake, and we used to catch crappie like no tomorrow back when the limits were much different.
Right.
We'd catch a 10-incher in the boat, and Dad'd be looking at me and said, throw that baby back. I can't tell you how many 2.5-pound crappie I caught out of Woods Reservoir in the 1970s as a kid with my dad and my grandpa. So I'm like, Jake, Woods is my home lake more than anything. But we're working on the Woods. We're working on lots of lakes with the projects Jake's leading us on.
Well, we're going to dive into that here in just a second. But when you're not being a fishing guy, when you're not working with Tennessee Bass Nation, you're doing boating safety instruction.
I'm a boating safety instructor for TWRA. I stepped up to the plate and conned Miss Woods into letting me do it, and we're going to have some classes down there.
Perfect.
In Franklin, Coffee County, and Moore County. Might jump over to Lincoln once we get going, and I get my feet good and wet in it. Being an instructor is nothing really new to me.
Right, you're used to teaching.
It's just I've got to I've been studying the material, and my poor wife is tired of hearing me talk about boating safety. So because she's my sounding board and listening board, I go through the material because one of the things I take pride in representing properly, whether it's Bass, Bassmaster, Tennessee Bass Nation, and in that I've got the privilege of I'll be out there representing TWRA.
Yeah.
Unofficially, officially, I'm an instructor, and I want to present that proper image for them.
And it is mandatory. Anybody born after January 1st, 89.
And that's one good thing to tie it all in together with the TBN, or Tennessee Bass Nation. David and I have made it mandatory that all of our boat captains, irregardless of age, go through this course.
Yep.
So with me teaching it, it makes it easier for them to get it. It gives them a familiar face, and we can sit down and discuss it. And they're like, well, why are we doing this? I've been boating since I was, driving a boat since I was 1977.
Yeah.
And we get a lot of grandpas like that. And we're like, let me tell you why. because a lot of things have changed in our lifetime. I mean, it's changed in my lifetime. Just since I took the captain's test back in 2006, a lot of things have changed. So we go through all that process with them and what's required and why we do this, and
And during every safety brief we have for these tournaments, and we're standing there in front of a group of people, we always ask, boat captains, what's your number one priority tomorrow? And they better be screaming safety loud and proud.
Yeah.
Because no matter how many fish there are or whatever else, our number one job as directors is to get them off the water safely to get back home to Ma or the captain's wife or whatever, whether they catch a fish, get a plaque, cash a check, whatever. They got to get home safe.
And that's a statistic that y'all have been
We've been
happy about.
We're safe.
knock on wood, we have not had a major accident on the water. We've had one at a stage during teardown, but we take the safety so serious, and we don't care who it is.
Yeah.
I'm a pawn him out there. I hope he watches this. I like to give Dave a heart attack about 2 weeks after he got the job with y'all, because we're over to Douglas and we're clearing boats, and Dave's calling boat numbers, and he's at one end of the big pier down there, and I'm at the other. One of the bosses come through for TWRA, certain commissioner by the name of, I'll say it, Kurt Holbert.
Oh, Kurt, he's a good one.
He's a good one. Laney didn't have her life vest zipped up.
Zip it. Gotta zip it.
Well, it's an automatic penalty box. And,
And Laney is his daughter.
I really didn't pay any attention. Who it was, don't care. Life vest wide open in the penalty box. This one.
I had started. This was like this was a November tournament.
You could have done this.
This was a November tournament after I had started with this organization in January, and he takes the sitting chairman of the commission and puts him in the penalty box. And when he looked back at me, I'm sure my face was as white gets. Kurt's about laughing. He's like,
yeah, I could see it now.
I mean, he was a little frustrated with the girls, but that's. There are no exceptions. We have to make sure everybody gets off the water safe.
Yeah.
So we take boating safety so serious that Jake's decided to become an instructor to make sure that we've got more people available for instructors. So
That's great.
Hey,
That's
if you're
great.
just joining us, we are speaking with Captain Jake Davis and David Lowrie, talking about fishing, Tennessee Bass Nation, and boating safety, and all kinds of stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, so let's move into the recent recognition at the commission meeting. That was the 2022 Reservoir Fish Habitat Partnership Award, Friends of Reservoirs. Yeah. And I know we've got David here today to brag on you, because he said you wouldn't brag enough.
Probably not, because
I
I'm not into that a whole bunch. I mean, I spent 21 years in the Air Force, got all that recognition and all that I needed to get.
it's not why we're here. We're not out for recognition. We're out to do a good program for the kids. And then Jake's turned around and created this other initiative for us. Totally. I mean, he comes to me and says, we're fixing to do some cleanup and some habitats. I said, okay, sounds good. And he said, we're going to get the kids involved and the captains involved, and that can give them service hours, and we're going to improve these bodies of water.
Win-win.
It is. I mean, going back to where we were talking about me being a guide and what favorite lake and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I have watched, over the years, lakes just decline. Okay. Everything from habitat disappearing to the amount of pollution or trash or, you get a lot of sediment fill into a reservoir. And our reservoirs are getting 50 years old or older. Okay. Some of them way older than that. And fishing is taking such a stand and in the forefront now. Fishing, hunting, getting in the outdoors, get out of the house type of thing.
Yeah.
Is such in the forefront. We got to do something. Okay, there wasn't enough access sites on a lot of these lakes. There still isn't. Not enough opportunity. Still isn't. We're making a dent in it. And then the award, and I, Jason Henniger, and I think he's the culprit to put me in for that. Him and Jeff Boxrucker out from the Friends of Reservoir, and Gene Gilliland from Bass. I think they're the three characters that did that. But and I greatly appreciate it. But it belongs to everybody that has helped us.
That's right.
Okay, it's not just me out there doing that. I'm feeding them the information, giving them the opportunity. I get the grants, get the money. I work as a government liaison with TVA and TWRA and Corps engineers, and we get all these projects together and we say, okay, this is our target. This year it's been the Bill Dance Trail. And we need to kick that in high gear because of tourism and all that. And I work with Dennis Tomlin from Over in Tourism, and we're just trying to get this stuff done.
Yeah.
And it's been growing relationships. We started out with Dennis just initially in some high school tournaments.
Sure.
At Dayton. And before you know it, we're real good friends with Dennis. Dennis moves up to where he's at. They get their ideas, the Dance Trail, and then here we are. And in the process of this, now that's not the only award Jake's got, and I don't have the list of them, but Jake's got a few trophies and plaques at the house because of how he's led us. And trust me, when you go to one of these events, I just gave you some photos and stuff of Priest when we did that a couple 2-3 weeks ago, where over 21,000 pounds was picked up of garbage out of Priest.
Man,
and trust me, Jake was as dirty as any one of those kids, and it was kind of raining that day. They all were filthy, but 21,000 pounds of garbage came out of that water. But here's the key. Here's what you want to know. Just in this school year, starting in August, we know for sure, and sometimes your measurements are a little light, but we know with what Jake has led us with, 37,500 pounds of garbage have come out of Tennessee waterways based on these programs that he's doing. And with the attractors that we're building, Jake's leading and building.
Yeah.
He'll have to say the lakes, but since 2015, over 78,000 different structures have been put in Tennessee water to help replace where all the stumps are gone and there's nothing holding the algae and the plankton and the little fish that draw the big fish.
Right.
And in process of it, he's done it to the point where they'll put the structure out and go back 30 minutes to an hour later and there's already fish on it. And they'll go back 2 weeks later and they're catching tournament-sized fish on it. He knows about where they've put stuff in and, the catch, the bag size of the tournament is increasing.
Going up,
Jake's he's done so much.
And Dave talks about all that stuff, and I don't want to leave TWRA out of this because y'all have played a vital part in all of this, okay? Jason Henniger and Frank upstairs, when Frank was chief of fishes and now he's moved on to the dark side of the house.
Deputy director.
Yeah.
Be careful, that's still my chain of command. Thank you very much.
I know, Frank appreciates that, I'm sure. And we did a lot of good work, but I've gained an education, okay, because by tradition, I'm a guy that jumped out of perfectly good helicopters and carried a gun and wore a badge and, went into, I was pararescue for 4 years, and that's just, I wasn't that guy, okay. I grew up trout fishing in northern Michigan, hunting deer and, chasing rabbits and grouse and all that good stuff. But I've gained an education from our fisheries folks.
Yeah.
Okay. Everybody from Jason to people like Mike Jolly and Jess Taylor down there in Normandy with the Southern Crew, Teddy here in Nashville.
Yeah.
They've sort of taken me aside along with some other people that were out there. Hal Shrum, Gene Gilliland. And the way it all started was I started collecting all this stuff and working on things. And, it's just morphed into, different things.
I love how you guys are building that ethic in the student anglers, how they're out on the cleanup crew. That's bound to stick with them for a lifetime.
And it does. And, we've got a coach for the Franklin team right here just south of Nashville. Jason Wynn, he said, hey, this was the greatest team building activity. He goes, I had my doubts. He goes, I as a coach and somebody in the community, and Jason's high up in the corporate ladder, but he's like, I didn't realize how bad this was. He goes, I thought maybe Jake's exaggerating a little bit, or maybe they're using select pictures when we're on that cleanup at Priest.
Uh-huh.
And when you go out there and you actually take a walk with us, let us get off the boat. Let's walk to shore. Let me take
Definitely.
you 5 feet into the woods.
This time of year, especially,
You know,
when it's the cooler months and water's down.
And this is the time of the year you don't have the snakes, you don't have the ticks, and
good,
everything's dead, and you can see everything, and it's just a shocker of what is out there.
Yeah.
So we're trying to do our part and instill into the younger generation a little bit of, hey, if we don't change our habits, we're going to lose this. Okay, that's our, just think of Priest for a minute. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 city water supplies. Okay, what all's in that water? I mean, there was an article come out here about a week and a half ago that probably 90% of our waterways in this country have forever chemicals in them. And some of them are bad stuff. I mean, I know because I have to get tested for them every year. I've been to those plane crashes where they use the PFAS. I get tested every year. I got to be checked for cancer, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
We don't need that. We can fix or stop or hold what we have if we can get people involved.
Yeah.
And just get them to wake up and say, I don't need to throw my beer can out the window this morning or, this evening.
I hope it's not in the morning, but
Well,
It happens.
Yeah, I
You
understand.
understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or if you're out there partying, let's not sink the beer bottle to the bottom of the lake because
Exactly.
it does wash up.
There's pictures recently from some of these cleanups that spots on the shore where they found a mountain of either bottles or beer cans or liquor bottles that it's just like, it was like the intention of the people partying was, how big can we make this pile?
Yeah.
And they leave it out there. And the thing of it is by instilling this in the kids and the captains that we need to continually make the effort, we're never going to get 100% cooperation of people wanting to clean up their trash. There's always going to be somebody out there who's like, I don't care. So there's always going to be the need to clean up. But wouldn't it be nice that when we go to one of these things, instead of having to have 4 or 5 or 6 of these giant dumpster things they bring in, we get down to where we've only got 1 or 2 dumpster things to bring in. Maybe we can make a difference. But it's a constant fight. But we're training, Jake is training our kids and our captains and our programs to, we got to go do this all the time. Talk about the Adopt Access, Jake.
Well, that was the next on my list. Yeah.
The Adopt and Access, it was just an idea. I was sitting there last winter before we went to the Classic, and I said, I remember seeing a sign that said Adopt a Roadway.
Yeah.
Why can't we adopt an access, whether it's a WMA or a boat ramp area or a picnic area? Let's adopt that access to the waterway or to one of our WMAs. It could be hunting because it's just as bad. I was duck hunting over in West Tennessee, and I'm not going to say where I pulled into, but that was bad.
Yeah.
We ended up picking up a bunch of stuff. So it's not just fishing. It's, all the outdoors. If we can adopt these accesses, and it's not a big task. It's, if I go to Morris Ferry and I got a guide trip down there or I'm fishing for the day, when I get done, I'm going to take 5 minutes in a garbage bag, pick up whatever I see, and keep it looking nice and neat.
Yeah.
Makes a big difference.
Yeah, makes a huge difference.
But with the program he started now, we have high school teams across this state, and I just took my own personal team, Grundy County, down to Morris Ferry and Woods on Sunday, put up our signs, and that's our day that we start, that I've challenged everybody on our team and everybody that's been on our team in the past that if they drive by and they got 10 minutes to stop and pick up every piece of trash you can find. It's a continuous effort. We're adopting that for my team. And do we know how many accesses we've got? We got a lot adopted already.
We're at 14 across the state. Officially, where we put the signs out. We got a bunch in waiting that, I wait for the teams to go out and do it and clean it up and send me a picture so we don't say, hey,
Get
we got
ahead, yeah.
30 of them or how many ever. And that's just one of the programs we're trying to do to where we're not trying to get it all done. Because, we got this winter break, but there's things we can do.
Yeah, I think that's great because, we get calls now and then that says, why is the trash cans overflowing at these different boat ramps? Sometimes it's not our responsibility, but it's everybody's responsibility to jump in there when they can and help out. And I think this is great.
And I tell you what is great, our officers, or the TWRA officers, the LEOs out there, they take it serious. I can tell you for a fact, 2 years ago on Tim's Ford, our local officer, now Sergeant Hunt, he's got the district down there. I called in what I figured was a dumping. There were some real intelligent ones. They left their pizza boxes with all their trash. They backed the truck up there and just swept everything out. And there's their pizza boxes with their names on it. Josh went and had a talk with them.
Yeah.
And they cleaned it all up. And I think he gave them a little talking to and probably a break on the amount of the ticket. But and that's when we all work together. It comes out to be a good thing in the end. We catch the culprits, or we teach somebody a lesson that the officers go out and say, "Hey, listen, you got 24 hours to clean this up."
Yeah.
But if we can get more and more accesses adopted by our teams or by adult organizations, it can be by the Chamber of Commerce, it can be by the JCs. It doesn't matter. We just want to get everybody to start cleaning things up, and we wish we could get everybody to quit throwing the trash out at all, but that's never going to happen. But if we get more and more groups lined up to clean up these access areas, then maybe we get less pollution in the water and less garbage everywhere for us to see.
And that's just a couple of the projects we work on, or I work on as being the conservation director.
Yeah.
There's everything from Asian carp to invasive species we work on.
We've improved ramps because Jake's work. We've got grants and stuff. A whole lot of work at Marion County Park.
If you haven't been to that facility lately, we now have parking where you're not going to get stuck.
Well, that was one of my questions. If you could give me a 1 minute version, the funding and some of the stuff that's going on to help those improvements, and maybe a couple of your favorite habitat improvements, real quick.
Marion County Park, number one, grade A construction. Hats off to them in the Marion County Road Commission. We came in there and we got I can't think of the name of it, Unibudzy, the company down there, gravel company down there, donated all the gravel.
Yeah,
we got
awesome.
A lot of what we do is get things donated to help
Partners to help that.
Partners. We get AFCO that helps out a lot. Smyrna Ready Mix.
Yeah.
Great folks over there. They help us out all the time. Chris Yoder with Yoder Concrete Pumping and Rocky Top Paving. There's a whole host of people that just come together that we work with.
Awesome. And now you can have a very large tournament at Marion County Park, and there's plenty of paved and gravel parking because of all this.
And people like Dennis Tomlin.
Yeah.
For the first time, and I know the fisheries guys and the other folks in the building are going to cringe when I say this, it's an economic thing. I don't care however you look at it, it's economic. Now we have the facilities to help the local communities, as the agency does, to help grow things and get the economy going and look at how we do things.
Yeah. Well, I thank you for what you do. David, thank you for being here.
Thank you, guys.
Don?
I warned you, we didn't have enough time.
And you got that right. This is Tennessee WildCast. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for tuning in. Stay connected with TWRA by visiting our website at tnwildlife.org and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Hey, it's all about Tennessee wildlife. It's what we do. Tennessee WildCast will be on the air again next week. We'll see you then.